Hi all, I'm Pushp Sirohi and back with a one more amazing topic, Prana. So please enjoy the lecture. Pranayam is not as many think something about breathe. Breathe indeed has very little to do with it. If anything, breathing is the only one of the many exercises through which we get to the real pranayam. Pranayam means the control of prana. According to the philosopher of India, the whole universe is composed of two materials. One of, you know, they call Akasha is the omnipresent, all penetrating existence. Everything that has form, everything that is the result of combination is evolved out of this Akasha. It is the Akasha that becomes the air, that becomes the liquid, that becomes the solid. It is the Akasha that becomes the sun, the earth, the moon, the stars, the comets. It is the Akasha that becomes the human body, the animal body, the plants, every form that we see, everything that we can be sensed, everything that exists, it can be perceived. It is so subtle that it is beyond all ordinary perceptions. It can only be seen when it becomes gross, has taken form. At the beginning of creation, there is only this Akasha. At the end of the cycle, the solid, the liquid, and the gases all melt into the Akasha again, and the next creation similarly proceed out of this Akasha. By what power is this Akasha manufactured into this universe? By the power of Prana. Just as Akasha is the infinite, omnipresent material of the universe, so is this Prana the infinite, omnipresent manifesting power of this universe. At the beginning and at the end of the cycle, everything become Akasha. And all the forces that are in the universe resolve back into the Prana. In the next cycle, out of this prana is evolved everything that we call energy, everything that we call force. It is the prana that is manifesting as motion. It is the prana that is manifesting as the gravitation, as magnetism. It is the prana that is manifesting as the action of the body and the nerve currents, the thought force. From thought down to the lowest force, everything is but the manifestations of prana. The sum total of all forces in the universe, mental or physical, when resolved back to their original state, is called prana. When there was either ought or not, when darkness was covering darkness, what existed then akash existed without motion. The physical motion of the prana was stopped, but it existed all the same. At the end of a cycle, the energy is now displayed in the universe, quiet down and become potential. At the beginning of the next cycle, they start up, strike upon the Akasha, and out of the Akash evolves these various forms, and the Akasha changes. This prana changes also into all these manifestations of energy. The knowledge and control of this prana is really what is meant by pranayam. This opened to us the door to almost unlimited power. Suppose, for instance, a man understood the prana perfectly and could control it, what power on earth would not be his? He would be able to move the sun and stars out of their places, to control everything in the universe, from the atoms to the biggest sun, because he controlled the pranas. This is the end and aim of pranayam. When the yogi become perfect, there will be nothing in nature not under his control. If he orders the god or the soul of departed to come, they will come at his bidding. All the forces of nature will obey him as slave. When the ignorant see these power of the yogi, they call them the miracles. One particularity of the Hindu mind is that it always inquires from the last possible generalization, leaving the details to be worked out afterward. The question is raised in the Vedas, what is that, knowing which we shall know everything? Thus, all books and the philosophies that have been written have been only to prove that by knowing which everything is known. If a man want to know this universe bit by bit, he must know every individual grain of sand, which means infinite time. He cannot know all of them. Then how can knowledge be? How is it possible for men to be all knowing through particulars? The yogi says that behind this particular manifestations there is a generalization. Behind all particular ideas stand a generalized, an abstract principle. Grasp it, and you have grasped everything. Just as this whole universe has been generalized in the Vedas into the one absolute existence, and he who has grasped that existence has grasped the whole universe. So all forces have been generalized into this prana. And he who has grasped the prana has grasped all the forces of the universe, mental or physical. He who has controlled the prana has controlled his own mind and all the minds that exists. He who has controlled the prana has controlled his body and all the bodies that exist, because the prana is the generalized manifestations of forces. How to control the prana is one of the idea of pranayam. All the training and exercises in this regards are for that one end. Each man must begin where he stands, must learn how to control the things that are nearest to him. This body is very near to us, nearer than anything in the external universe. And this mind is the nearest of all. The prana which is working this mind and body is the nearest to us of all the prana in the universe. This little wave of the prana which represent our own energies, mental and physical, is the nearest to us of all the waves of the infinite ocean of prana. If we can succeed in controlling that little wave, that alone we can hope to control the whole of prana. The yogi who has done this gains perfection, no longer is the under any power. He becomes almost almighty, almost all knowing. We see sacks in every country who have attempted this control of prana. In this country, there are mind healers, faith healers, spiritualists, Christian scientists, hypnotists, etc. And if we examine these different bodies, we shall find at the back of each this control of the prana. Whether they know it or not, if you boil all their theories down, the residuum will be that it is the one of the same force they are manipulating only unknowingly. They have stumbled on the discovery of the force and are using it unconsciously without knowing its nature, but it is the same as the yogi uses and which comes from prana. The prana is the vital force in every being. Thoughts is the finest and highest action of prana. Thoughts, again, as we see, is not all. There is also what we call instinct or unconscious thought, the lowest plane of actions. If a mosquito stings us, our hand will strike it automatically, instinctively. This is one expression of thought. All reflex actions of the body belong to this plane of thoughts. This is again the other plane of thoughts, the conscious. I reason, I judge, I think, I see, and pros and cons of certain things. Yet that is not all. We know that reason is unlimited, limited. Reasons can go only to a certain extent. Beyond this cannot reach. The circle within which it's run is very, very limited indeed. Yet the same time we find fact rush into this circle. Like the coming of comet, certain things come into the circle. It's certain they come from outside the limit. Although our reason cannot go beyond, the cause of the phenomena, intruding themselves in the small limit, are outside of this limit. The mind can exist on a still higher plane, the subconscious. When the mind has attained to that state which is called samadhi, perfect concentration, superconsciousness, it goes beyond the limit of reason and come face to face with facts which no instinct or reason can never know. All manipulations of the subtle forces of the body, the different manifestations of prana, if trained, give a push to the mind, help it to go up higher and become superconscious, from where it acts. In the universe, in this universe, there is one continuous substance on every plane of existence. Physically, this universe is one. There is no difference between the sun and you. The scientist will tell you it is only a fiction to say the contrary. There is no real difference between the table and me. The table is one point in the mass of matter and I another point. Each from represents, as it were, one whirlpool in the infinite ocean of matter, of which not one is constant. Just as in a rushing stream there may be millions of whirlpools, the water in each of which is different every moment, turning round and round for a few seconds and then passing out, replaced by a fresh quantity. So the whole universe is one constantly changing mass of matter, in which all forms of existence are so many whirlpools. A mass of maker enter into one whirlpool, say a human body. It stays there for a period, becomes changed, and goes out into another. Say an animal body this time, from which again after a few years it enters into another whirlpool called a lump of minerals. It is a constant change. Not one body is constant. There is no such thing as my body or your body except in words. Of the one huge mass of matter, one point is called a moon, another sun, another a man, another the earth, another a plant, another a mineral. Not one is constant, but everything is changing, matter eternally concentrating and disintegrating. So it is with the mind, matter is represented by the ether. When the action of prana is most subtle, this very ether in the finer state of vibration will represent the mind, and there it will be still one unbroken mass. If you can simply get to that subtle vibration, you will see and feel that the whole universe is composed of subtle vibrations. Sometimes certain drugs have the power to take us while as yet in the senses to that conditions. Many of you may remember the celebrated experiment of Sir Humphrey Davy when the laughing go gas overpowering him. How during the lecture he remained motionless, stupefied, and after that he said that the whole universe has made up of ideas. For the time being, as it were, the gross vibration has ceased, and only the subtle vibration, which he calls idea, were present to him. He could only see the subtle vibration round him. Everything that become thought. The whole universe was an ocean of the thought. He and everyone else has become little thoughts whirlpools. Thus, even in the universe of thoughts, we find unity. And at last, when we get to the self, we know that the self can only be one. Beyond the vibrations of matter in its gross and subtle aspects, beyond motions, there is but one. Even in manifested motions, there is only unity. These facts can no more be denied. Modern physics also has demonstrated that the sum total of the energies in the universe is the same thoughts. It has also been provided the sum total of energy existed in two forms. It becomes potential, toned down, and calmed, and next it comes out manifested as all these various forces. Again, it goes back to the quiet state, and again it manifests. Thus, it goes on evolving and evolving through eternity. The control of this prana, as before stated, is what is called pranayam. The most obvious manifestations of this prana is the human body, is the motion of the lungs. If that stops, as a rule of the other manifestations of force in the body will immediately stop. But there are persons who can train themselves in such a manner that the body will live on even when this motion has stopped. There are some persons who can bury themselves for days and yet live without breathing. To reach the subtle, we must take the help of the grosser and so slowly travel toward the most subtle unit until we gain our point. Pranayam really means controlling this motion of the lungs, and the motion is associated with the breath. Not that breath is producing it, on the contrary, it is producing breath. This motion draw in the air by pump action. The prana is moving the lungs, the movement of the lungs draw in the air. So pranayam is not breathing, but controlling that muscular power which moves the lungs, that muscular power which goes out through the nerves to the muscles and from them to the lungs, making them move in certain manner, is the prana, which we have to control in the practice of pranayam. When the prana has become controlled, then we shall immediately find that all the other actions of the prana in the body will slowly come under control. I myself seen men who have controlled almost every muscle of the body. And why not? If I have control over certain muscles, why not over every muscles and nerves of the body? What impossible is there? At present, the control is lost. The motion has become automatic. We cannot move our ear at will, but we know that animal can. We have not that power because we do not exercise it. This is what is called atavism. Again, we know that the motion which has become latent can be brought back to manifestation. By hard work and the practice, certain motions of the body which are most dormant can be brought back under perfect control. Reasoning thus, we find there is no impossibility. But on the other hand, every probability that each part of the body can be brought under perfect control. This the yogi does through pranayam. Perhaps some of you have read that in pranayam. When drawing in the breath, you must fill your whole body with prana. In the English translation, prana is given as breath. And you are inclined to ask how that is to be done. The fault is with the translator. Every part of the body can be filled with prana, this vital force, and when you are able to do that, you can control the whole body. All the sickness and misery felt in the body will be perfectly controlled. Not only so, you will be able to control another's body. Everything is infectious in this world, good or bad. If your body be in certain state of tension, it will have a tendency to produce the same tension in others. If you are strong and healthy, those that live near you will also have the tendency to become stronger and healthy. But if you are sick and weak, those around you will have the tendency to become the same. In the case of one man trying to heal another, the first idea is simply transferring his own health to the others. This is the primitive sort of healing. Consciously or unconsciously, health can be transmitted. A very strong man living with a weak man will make him a little stronger, whether he knows it or not. When consciously done, it becomes quicker and better in its actions. Next come those cases in which a man may not be very healthy himself, yet we know that we can bring health to another. The first man in such a case has a little more control over the prana and can rouse. For the time being, his prana, as it were, to a certain state of vibration and transmits it to another person. There have been cases where this process has been carried out on at a distance, but in reality, this is no distance in the sense of a break. Whether is the distance that has a break. Is there any break between you and the sun? It is a continuous mass of matter, the sun being one part and you another. Is there a break between one part of a river and another? Why cannot any force travel? There is no reason against it. Cases of healing from a distance are perfectly true. The prana can be transmitted to a very great distance, but to one genuine case, there are 100 of the frauds. This process of healing is not so easy as it is thought to be. In the most ordinary cases of such healing, you will find that the healer simply take advantage of the healthy state of a human body. And allopathy comes and treats call patients and gives them his medicines. The homeopathy comes and gives his medicines and cure perhaps more than the allopathy does, because the homeopath does not disturb his patients but allow nature to deal with them. The faith healer cures more still because he brings the strength of his mind to bear and rose. Thoughts, faith, the dormant prana of the patient. There is a mistake constantly made by faith healers. They think that the faith directly heals a man, but faith alone does not cover all the ground. There are diseases where the worst symptoms are that the patient never think that he has that disease. The tremendous faith of the patient is itself one symptom of the disease and usually indicate that he will die quickly. In such cases, the principle that faith cure does not apply. If were the faith alone that cured, these patients also would be cured. It is by the prana that real curing comes. The pure man who has controlled the prana has the power of bringing it into a certain state of vibration which can be conveyed to others, arousing in them a similar vibration. You see that in everyday actions I am talking to you. What am I trying to do? I'm so to say, bringing my mind to a certain state of vibration, and the more I succeed in bringing it to that state, the more you will be affected by what I say. All of you know that the day I am more enthusiastic, the more you enjoy the lecture, and when I am less enthusiastic, you will feel lack of interest. The gigantic willpowers of the world movers, can bring their prana into a high state of vibration. And it is so great and powerful that it catch other in a moment, and thousands are drawn toward them. And half of them world think as they do. Great prophets of the world has the most wonderful control of the prana, which gives them tremendous willpower. They had brought their prana to the highest state of motion, and this is what gave them the power to sway the world. All manifestations of the power arise from this control. Men may not know the secret, but this is the one explanation. Sometimes in your own body, the supply of prana gravitates more or less to one part. The balance is disturbed, and when the balance of prana is disturbed, what we call disease is produced. To take away the superfluous prana or to supply the prana that is wanting will be curing the disease. That again is the pranayam. To learn where there is more or less prana in one part of the body, then there should be. This feeling will become so subtle that the mind will feel that there is a less prana in the toe or the finger than there should be, and will possess the power to supply it. They are among the various functions of pranayam. They have to be learned slowly and gradually. And as you see, the whole scope of Raja Yoga is really to teach the control and direction in different planes of the prana. When a man has concentrated his energies, he masters the prana that is in his body. When a man is meditating, he is also concentrating the prana. In the ocean, there is a huge waves like mountains, then smaller waves, and still smaller down to little bubbles. But back of the all these is the infinite ocean. The bubble is connected with the infinite ocean at one end, and the huge wave at the other end. So one may be gigantic man, another a little bubble, but each is connected with that infinite ocean of energy, which is the common birthright of every animal that exists. Wherever there is life, the storehouse of infinite energy is behind it. Starting as much as some fungus, some very minute microscopic bubble, and all the time drawing from that infinite storehouse of energy. A form is changed slowly and steadily until in course of the time it becomes a plant, then an animal, and man, ultimately God. This is attained through millions of eons. But what is time? An increase of a speed, an increase of a struggle is able to bridge the gulf of time. That which naturally takes a long time to accomplish can be shortened by the intents of the action, says the yogi. A man may go on slowly drawing in his energies from the infinite mass that exists in the universe, and perhaps he will require 100,000 years to become a deva, and then perhaps 500,000 years to become still higher, and perhaps 5 millions of years to become perfect. Give rapid growth, the time will be lessened. Why is it not possible with sufficient effort to reach this very perfection in 6 months or 6 years? There is no limit. A reason shows that if an engine with a certain amount of coal runs 2 miles an hour, it will run the distance in less time with a greater supply of coal. Similarly, why shall not the soul, by intensifying its action, attain perfection in this very life? All big beings will at last attain to that goal, we know. But who cares to wait all these millions of the eons? Why not reach it immediately in this body, even in this human form? Why shall I not get that infinite knowledge, infinite power now? The idol of the yogi, the whole science of yoga is directed to the end of teaching men how. by intensifying the power of assimilation to shorten the time for reaching perfection. Instead of slowly advancing from point to point and waiting until the whole human race has become perfect. All the great prophets, saints, and seers of the world, what did they do? In one span of life, they lived the whole life of humanity, traversed the whole length of time, then it takes ordinary humanity to come to perfection. In one life, they perfect themselves. They have no thoughts for anything else, never lives a moment for any other idea. And thus the way is shortened for them. This is what is meant by concentration, intensifying the power of assimilation, thus shortening the time. Raja Yoga is the science which teach us how to gain the power of concentration. What has pranayam to do with spiritualism? Spiritualism is also a manifestation of pranayam. If it be true that the departed spirits existed, only we cannot see them. It is quite probable, that there may be hundreds and millions of them about us, and we can neither see, feel, nor touch. We may be continually passing and repassing through their bodies, and they do not see or feel us. It is a circle within a circle, universe within a universe. We have five senses and we represent prana in a certain state of vibration. All being in the same state of vibration will see one another. But if there are beings who represent prana in a higher state of vibration, they will not be seen. We must increase the intensity of a light until we cannot see it at all. But there may be being with eyes so powerful that they can see such light. Again, if it is vibrations are very low, we do not see a light. But there are animals that may see it, as cats and owls. Our range of vision is only one plane of the vibrations of this prana. Take this atmosphere. For instance, it is piled up layer on layer, but the layer nearer to the earth are denser than those above. And as you go higher, the atmosphere becomes finer and finer. Or take the case of the ocean, and you go deeper and deeper, the pressure of water increase. An animal which lives at the bottom of the sea can never come up, or they will be broken into pieces. Think of the universe as an ocean of ether consisting of layer after layer and varying degrees of vibration under the action of prana. Away from the center, the vibrations are less, nearer to the become quicker and quicker. One order of vibration makes one plane. Then suppose these ranges of vibrations are cut into planes. So many millions of miles, one set of vibration, and then so many millions of miles, another still higher set of vibration, and so on. It is therefore probable that those who live on the plane of certain state of vibration will have the power of recognizing one another but will not recognize those above them. Yet, just as by the telescope and the microscope we can increase the scope of our vision, similarly, we can by yoga bring ourselves to the state of vibration of another plane and thus enable ourselves to see what is going on there. Suppose this room is full of beings whom we do not see. They represent prana in a certain state of vibrations, while we represent another. Suppose they represent a quick one and we the opposite. Prana is the material of which they are composed, as well as all are the part of the same ocean of prana. They differ only in their rate of vibration. If I can bring myself to the quick vibration, this plane will immediately change for me. I shall not see you anymore. You vanish and they appear. Some of you perhaps know this to be true. All this bringing of the mind into a higher state of vibration is included in one word in yoga, saranidhi. All these states of higher vibrations, subconscious vibrations of the mind are grouped in that one word, samadhi. And the lower state of samadhi gives us vision of these beings. The highest grade of samadhi is when you see the real thing, when we see the materials out of which the whole of these grades of being are composed, and that one lump of clay being known. We know all the clay in the universe. Thus, we see that pranayam includes all that is true of spiritualism. Even similarly, you will find that whatever any sect or body of the people is trying to search out anything occult or mystical or hidden, what they are doing is really this yoga, this attempt to control the prana. You will find that wherever there is any extraordinary display of power, it is manifestation of this prana. Even the physical signs can be included in pranayam. What moves the stem engine, prana, acting through the steam. What are all these phenomena of electricity and so forth but prana, but is physical science, the science of pranayam by external means, prana, manifesting itself as mental power can only be controlled by mental means. That part of pranayam which attempts to control the physical manifestation of the prana by physical means is called physical science, and that part which tries to control the manifestation of prana as mental force by mental means is called Raja Yoga. Thank you guys, hope you like it.